Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends, today we're covering Jain Zar's Legendary Release Event. This event is coming back around for its final run, and Jain Zar is currently a powerful PvP character who helps you to bypass troublesome Overwatch characters. If you don't have her unlocked yet, follow the infographics and guide in this video to give yourself the best chance of success. You'll know by now that I like to keep my videos short and sweet, so I'll leave the outline here on screen. I'll go over what a legendary event is, for those of you who are newer to the game, show you the infographics that I've made to help you focus and tailor your roster growth, before giving you gameplay tips and analysis about the best characters to bring and how to defeat the unique enemies in each section. I'll also have my Refer a Friend code, which you can enter to earn yourself 100 Blackstone. Everything is timestamped and chapter marked for you to skip ahead as needed. By now most of you will know what a legendary event is. However, there are still newer viewers that come to my channel, so I will briefly outline what this is and what to expect. Legendary events are special events that tend to run once every 5 weeks and last a week at a time. They are an opportunity for you to really test the limits of your roster in order to earn points and unlock a legendary character, the rarest and most elusive in the game. There are 3 sections to each legendary event, and each section has its own traits and restrictions which shape the team that you can bring along. The idea here is that if you want to succeed and push deep into the event, you'll also need a fairly deep roster. I see a lot of comments about how people are disappointed with the progress they make every time a legendary event comes around. Please don't despair. These events are designed to be endgame content and occur a total of 3 times for each character. If you follow the infographics and tips that I have in my video, you'll have a good chance of unlocking each character. This slide shows you roughly how big you need to build your characters in order to clear each level, but be aware that results will vary as not all characters are created equal. If you're approaching the event for the first time, you'll need to fully clear 8 levels in the Alpha, Beta and Gamma tracks in order to unlock the character. There are 2 event packs that you can buy to help you reduce this requirement to full clearing 6 levels. People sometimes ask me which of the 2 packs I would recommend getting if they were in the market for only buying one. The bonus shipment pack at the top right of the screen gives you significantly more event progress. However, the bundle pack contains Blackstone, which is the universal currency for the game and can be used for game progress outside of the legendary event. I can't tell you which of those to get. It's your money and you should spend it how you like. This infographic shows you how many points each character scores in the event overall. It's useful in order to understand, based on your roster, which characters might net you the most points. However, bear in mind that just because a character can score a lot of points, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are amazing in the event, and I'll touch more on this later on. This time around, I've also taken the liberty of highlighting 6 characters, who I think will give you a good return on your investment if you level and gear them up. This infographic is an Excel document that shows all of the characters in the game and which traits they can be used for. I appreciate this is probably pretty hard to see, but don't despair. I have a link to the Google Sheet available in the video description. You can save a copy and tailor it for your own roster. I've highlighted in shades of green characters who I think will be particularly useful, and I'll go into why that is the case shortly. In this section, we'll talk about the 6 characters who I think will get you a lot of bang for your buck if you bring them along. You'll have noticed that broadly speaking, Imperial characters and Xenos characters are the 2 most important because they have their own unique sections. I've therefore divided my recommendations into these 2 categories. On the left you can see the Imperial characters. Calgar and Brother Burchard excel due to their Mark 10 Gravis armor, which makes them exceptionally tanky. They also meet several of the trait requirements, including the important and high-scoring Bolter damage trait. Calgar, if you're lucky to have him, is one of the top characters in the game and excels in guild raids, lending further importance to leveling him up. Isabel is tried and tested as an MVP in these legendary events. Her passive lets you turtle behind tankier characters and heal up against waves and waves of enemies. She's good in every legendary event and is a worthwhile long-term investment for this game mode. For Xenos, first up we have Aleph Null. It doesn't meet many trait requirements, but fulfills an important role as a mechanical healer and the linchpin in the Necron faction. I can't understate just how useful this little Necron is, not just in legendary events, but also in the campaign and guild raids. Shozil is excellent, not just because he's a Tau character, but because his drones really stack up and provide consistent, high-ranged damage, but also protect Shozo through their Savior Protocols trait. Finally, Calandis is just a generally good legendary event character who scores well here in this event, but is also in all legendary events because of how many unique traits she has and fulfills. Let's look at the enemies for each section in turn. Alpha brings Imperial enemies, and the three main unit types you'll see are pictured on screen. Along the right hand side of this page, you'll note the visual icons for the trait restrictions for this section as well. The first thing to point out is the Battle Fatigue trait. This means that if any adjacent enemy dies, then Cadian Guardsmen have a chance of fleeing the battle completely. This is increased by Overwatch. The extension of this, generally, is that these units take the lowest priority in terms of killing, because they'll often just run away on their own. I would advocate for killing the Eliminator units first whenever possible, due to the fact that they deal the most damage out of enemies in this section. The other strategy point is where to allocate your damage dealers and attacks. You'll notice the Mark 10 Gravis Armor trait for the Inceptors, and this can be quite tough to break through. Ideally, you want to focus characters with high pierce ratios against the Inceptors and leave your low pierce damage dealers to go after other targets. For the beta section, we can bring Imperial units only and face off against the forces of Chaos. The most dangerous enemy for the section is the Bloodletter, which does a melee piercing attack. The high pierce ratio means that these units can chew through your character's armor, and they are worth picking off first. Again, we will note that the Guardsmen have the Battle Fatigue trait and can largely be ignored while you focus on the other enemy unit types. Bear in mind that this section allows you to only use Imperial units. Therefore, incorporating a strategy with Isabella seems like an obviously good idea. Finally, the Gamma section has Orc enemies to battle through. The main thing to note about the Orcs is that they all have the Battle Fatigue trait. This means they have a 10% chance to flee if one of their adjacent allies die. This chance is increased to 50% when that ally is overkilled instead. So basically, you always want to target the enemy that allows you to trigger the most Battle Fatigue. The other thing to note is that at the end of every turn, each grot has a chance to multiply if it is fully healthy. Personally, I like targeting the grots early as they are easy to kill targets and I can trigger Battle Fatigue on the surrounding tougher orcs with enough damage. Despite all of the tips and advice here, some of you may simply not have been playing long enough to have a roster that is developed enough to unlock Jain Zar. This is the final round of the event, and if you don't manage to unlock her, then the event shards will get converted to character shards at a 1-to-1 ratio. You'll also get gold for leftover Waystone fragments. Jain Zar will be added to the requisitions pool at a date down the line as well. The event scales in difficulty as you would expect, and at higher levels of the mission difficulty, in addition to the standard enemies that we have just covered, you will also face unique characters. These tend to come in the later rounds as shown on screen. For the Alpha track, you will face the Ultramarines, for Beta, the Black Legion, and for Gamma, the Orcs. That's all I've got for today. An explanation of the event, infographics, recommendations, and a breakdown of the enemies that you'll face. If you haven't done it yet, you can enter the code on screen to earn yourself 100 Blackstone and also support me and the work that I do. It only works once, so choose carefully. Thank you to everyone that has already done so. Finally, if you're a competitive player and you're looking for a new guild to make the next step up in your gameplay, feel free to reach out to us via Discord link below. Thanks everyone, see you soon.
Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!